Thanks for tuning in once again to Golf Action on Proline TV, or at least the action we have here for you each week is handicapping action. And hopefully we can bring you more picks just like this. So if you are with us for the first time, this is a part of what we try to do each and every week. Let's take a look at one of the segments, one of the snippets from our show last week. Justin Rose, who just missed making it. Matter of fact, on one of my sports books, I got 70. And what I meant by he just missed making it was we had our top picks and he just missed making it. And I'm going to get into that as well in just a bit. 5-1, jumped on it. But he's now 60-1. And this is definitely a value play. Justin has a win here back in 2019. Historically, he's played well on the West Coast. He's got the win at Pebble. Now, look, he's coming off the miscut at Amex. I'm sure that's a reason why he's 60-1. But check this out. Check this out. Max Homa is 144th in the world. He's 50-1. Justin Rose is the 10th ranked player in the world. He's 60-1. That's why I said at the very beginning of this report, value, very important this week. All right. And you're getting really good value with Justin also on this list. Okay. So that was part of what we talked about last week. And the reason, again, I wanted to let you know about that is I know sometimes because our shows can go 60, 90 minutes long, got a lot of information I need to share with you. Make sure to check out the bottom of the screen. I put the markers there. So if you're only interested in the picks, that's fine. If you're only interested in other things, or if you are interested in just wanting to know who are the main players each week, the contenders we're talking about each week, the long shots we're about each week, the trends and hopefully we'll do a much better job of that in the future too, breaking it up, providing you with all sorts of cool clips. But anyway, at least we had a nice winner last week, and that's important. And what I was going to say too, and this is, look, when I put my picks on the show every week, just keep in mind that that's 5 picks of about 15 that I make every week. And I always talk about that there's 5, that especially if there's Justin Rose, who just missed the cut of me being able to make the pick, but we were able to get him at 75-1 on Monday because we did the show at Tuesday night. So we were able to grab him. And that's what I really want to do. I've said it all along. I want to do these on Monday night. And I was able to get that done this week. Now, I don't know if we can keep that up. We're going to get to NASCAR season in the next couple of weeks, and that's going to kind of mess with my Sundays. So it all depends on the information that I can get early enough where I can work on Sunday night and get you ready for a Monday night show. So, but again, just getting back, it's not about all this coverage is not about my picks. It's about all the information I can provide for you and give you a heads up on your fantasy, on your one and dones, on your weekly picks, everything. And if I could just give you a little bit of extra information to help you make that decision, that's all it's about. And I would much rather you have your own picks, to tell you the truth, because I have more. I think that there is about 15 players every week that I think that me personally, I want to put into and wager on. Now, I might have 5 or 6 of them or half of them where I only put like $1 on, $2 because they're 100-1, 80-1, whatever. And I'll spread across some that are $50, $20, $30. So we can't put all that on there for you. But I would wish, and I would hope that you guys would have your, hey, because if I give you my 5 picks and you have your 5 picks and I can help you with maybe a few of them and so forth and so on, then the averages are in our favor. So if one of my top 5 picks don't win, like Justin Rose, hopefully you picked up on that and you put it in your top 5, because I know most people don't make 15 bets every week like I do. So if you only make like 5 or 3, whatever the case may be, then I certainly hope that we can spread it around enough and the law of averages will be on our side. I know it's not going to work out every week for us. It's golf. Crazy things happen. And you know what also happens? You wind up getting players like Scotty Scheffler that come in there at 2-1 and win events, and there's nothing you can do about it unless you want to put up big money to try to make 2-1, which, you know, sometimes you do it. I get it. I understand it. And you're going to use them once on your one and done as well. And that's the tricky part, when to use Scotty Scheffler for your one and done. So you don't want to use him for anything other than signature events and majors. Well, get this. We've got back-to-back signature events coming up starting next week. So we are going to go to Pebble Beach next week, and then we're going to Riviera for the Genesis. So I think this is the perfect time. I think this is a really good time. Just like I said for the Amex. Hey, he won and nothing you could do about it. But Scheffler had no prior positive results at the Amex, and he was 2-1. So one and done situation, you're not going to waste your pick on that. And that just felt like that's a good week to not take Scheffler. Whereas you did, we blows him out. So this week, I think, is another good week not to take him. Why? Because he's got back-to-back signature events coming up. These are the ones that are going to make a lot of money for him. And I know Scotty Scheffler is a different animal, though. We've heard him say it. And I think there are some people out there that may not like what they hear from Scheffler. He's definitely not Tiger when it comes to and I don't want to badmouth Scotty in any way, shape, or form, because people who are really just dialed in like Tiger and all they think about is winning. And if you don't win, it's a travesty. Sometimes that's too much. You know, sometimes it's like, hey, you have to have a little bit of balance in your life. So I think the way Scotty's going about it, I mean, how could you disagree with, what is he winning? I think 25% of the time in his career, which is an amazing number. Now, it's not Tiger-esque, okay? Keep in mind, Tiger has had much better percentages over the same time span that Scotty's done this in the last 4 years. I mean, Tiger's had something like 35% and 40%, I believe, over a 4-year period. Tiger's won a lot more majors over a 4-year period. So I'm not going to get into the Scotty Tiger debate here, but just keep that in mind. Tiger is... people today, they always try and say, oh, that's the greatest game I've ever seen. Or I remember going into the Indiana-Miami game for the national championship. Oh, Indiana, depending on how they win this game, they could be the greatest college football team ever, which was absolutely ridiculous. And of course, they barely won the game. And so that talk is out the window. So that's what you get nowadays. Everything is greatest game, greatest player, and all this kind of stuff. But it's just really hard to be the greatest of something. And as great as Scotty is during this time period, he's not Tiger Woods. So not yet. He still has time. And longevity could be Scotty's deal. That's, I think, if Scotty wants to have, maybe a day in the future where he can actually be in a conversation about the greatest player ever, well, it's going to have to be about longevity for Scotty, because Tiger didn't have the longevity factor, which opens the door now for someone like Scotty to say, hey, maybe I could catch up to a lot of the accomplishments Tiger had going for him. It might not be in that short period of time that Tiger had, but the long career, I could still use that to my advantage. So one of the things, though, that they both do, and they both have done to really damage us as handicappers, and we're trying to make money on tour, on playing this event, on playing this sport, is the fact that when you're dominant and you win as much as they do, how do we make money off of it? Well, we don't. And that's the bummer about it. That's the thing that it's a give and take. Yeah, you see a great player, which is always really good for the sport. But unfortunately, whenever he comes out there and plays, and he's going to wind up playing in all the big events, and those are usually the events that we always, tune in for. And those are the ones we're really the most passionate about. He's going to come out there and you might have a 40-1 shot or a 50-1 shot, and he's going to steal it away. And Scotty Scheffler just beat you again, and his 2-1 number. So it is what it is. And look, I think there are ways to make money off of them. Like for instance, a couple weeks ago at the Amex, and this is just a tip for when you're doing this and you're trying to make money on Scheffler. Even if you don't bet him in the beginning of a tournament, Scotty going into it was going into the weekend. And you could tell after the first couple of rounds, okay, Scotty's probably, anytime you see Scotty in a field like that, that's not very strong, and he's like right there, either leading or a stroke or two back, it's probably over. Scotty's more than likely 90% going to win this thing. And when you look at the odds, that's the trick. Is he still in the plus area, which he was. He was like plus 150, something like that, maybe 175. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, is there any way I could benefit from this? Well, Patrick Reed was playing over on the DP World Tour that week. And his odds, I think, were something like 4-1 or something. Same thing. He had got off to a really good start. I looked at the field, and knowing Patrick and the field, he was the best player. And you kind of felt at the time Patrick was going to win that event as well. And so it was like, you know what? I got a couple of pluses here. Let me parlay them. And what the good thing about that is if Patrick Reed goes ahead and wins, since it's an event overseas, it's going to end when you get up in the morning. You're going to take a look at it. It's going to already be over. And then you're going to be able to sit there and you got all of the money on Scotty Scheffler, which is exactly what you want. And that's what happened. So I was able to put, I think I put like, I don't know, 35, 50 bucks or something like that on a parlay. Came up, I made like about a couple $100. Not bad when you've got Scotty Scheffler at almost even, and the other player, Reed, was less than 5-1. That's not bad. So those are the things that I would look at if I was you to try to make some money on Scotty Scheffler. Okay, so the other thing I think, again, that's important, like I said, is maybe this is a good week because of the signature events coming up. I know I was getting into the thing about Scotty, and he's an even mild-tempered kind of guy, and maybe he's not driven by money as much as others would be. Not to say he's not, but as much as others would be. But still, I think in the back of your mind, when you know signature events are coming up, you're going to be more pumped up, no matter who you are, for those events than this one. And so I'd put that in there just as, I know it's a nitpick because you have to nitpick favorites. And so I'm going to nitpick Scotty there and say he's coming off. I think he's won 4 of his last 8, I believe. 7 wins in his last 14. Is that ridiculous? And then the other 7 out of those 14, all top 10s with 4 top 5s. Okay. So getting back to what do you do with Scotty in one and done, though? And here's the reason. Because like I said, you have to save him for signature events or majors. But he's so hot right now that I'm not saying taking him this week, that I'm telling you, I don't want him to win this week for 2 reasons. 1, because obviously I'm going to bet against him. And 2, because I want to pick him next week or the week after. That's when I want to get him because he's so hot right now that if he loses this week, then, hey, he's on a 50% run. So it would make sense that he would win next week. So that's, and I know it's early in the season and you're thinking about, well, if I use Scotty Scheffler up already, but it's not a bad idea to do that because I think that, especially if you have 2 accounts like I do, because I'm thinking maybe I might do that in one of my accounts is go with Scotty while he's hot. Because how do we know in 2 months or 3 months that Scotty's not going to get injured? How do we know he's not going to go through a little minor injury and maybe he's going to miss a couple of weeks and he's not going to be on form? Or he's just not going to be this hot. You can't stay this hot. You can't stay on a 50% clip. Tiger didn't even do that. So at some point, he's not going to win every other event. And so you might want to take advantage while he's hot. And that's what I'm thinking of doing next week. Okay, but that's next week. Let's get into this week. So let's pop up let's see, where are we? Let me get the event information up here. Okay, there it is. And let's get this party started. All right, so we got the Phoenix Open, and of course, the big deal about the Phoenix Open is the Coliseum, the par 3, And that is just a mad show. It's what everybody's going to be looking for when, especially if you're in attendance, everybody gravitates as well, you would think. I'm sure it's a much younger crowd. So it's just a wild atmosphere. And it's fun. It is. One I think they're a little bit overboard on television, though, because they show it a lot. And it's like, I don't mind showing it a good number. But sometimes it's like, why are you showing me the 90th player in the world and then the 85th player in the world and the 180th player in the world back to back to back and on Thursday? What really? Nothing else is going on in this event somewhere else. So they do get a little bit carried away with it, but it's awesome. And I will say this because it's the finals on Sunday, and there's some really. Besides Justin Thomas, who is not playing. It's unfortunate because Justin's really good here. But besides Justin and a few other notable players, Rory's not here. It's not a major field. But for the most part, it's a field that is still as good as you're going to get for a non-signature major. So there's a good field. And you're also going to get personalities out there. Brooks Koepka's back. Of course, Jordan plays well here. He sure would like to be in contention, which he has been here for quite a bit. We'll talk about him in a little while. Ricky's starting to play better. So I think there's an opportunity maybe on Sunday for some drama, for some excitement. And as long as Scotty doesn't run away with things and we can have some excitement, who knows? Maybe it'll be a lot more exciting than the event that'll take place later that night. Okay, so here you go. This is what it is. The Phoenix Open at TPC Scottsdale, Bermuda greens, and that's important. A very important part of this event. So we'll talk more about that as we move along here. Okay, now what are the similar courses? So these would be the four that I would look at. And there were a few others that I was contemplating. I know we talked about this last year and had a few more, but I wanted to narrow it down. So we're going to go with Bay Hill. We're also going to go with CJ Cup at Byron Nelson. Now that event, only want to look at 2021 and those 5 years. That's the TPC Craig Ranch. That's when they took over the event. So just since 2021. U.S. Open Pinehurst, just 2024 U.S. Open. And the BMW Championship just at Olympia Fields, which is 2020 and 2023. Okay? Those are the courses that I would look at the most. Now, let's take a look at the trends. All right, so here is trend number 1. And I'm also going to pop up trend number 2, even though, of course, this is not as easy for you guys if you're doing it live, watching live, a lot easier when you're watching on demand. But that is trend number 2. All right, I'm going to go back to trend number 1 here in a sec. Okay, so let's go ahead and go through why these trends are important. And you can see right there, 10 out of 13, 10 of the last 13 major winners. I don't know if that should be surprising. You really have to be somebody that can focus with all the madness going around. So I don't think it should be a surprise that major winners who can do that can deal with the nuttiness of the crowds, especially on 16. All right. So I think that's definitely something that matters as far as I'm concerned. Now I want to go over this next one. Okay. Because it could be a little bit confusing, but I'm going to go over this. All right. So 10 of the last 13 first time winners scored a previous top 11, so 11th or better, including 5 in that previous 13 that actually had a runner-up before winning this event. Okay. A previous runner-up. All right. And a couple of them actually had runner-ups the year before. Now, this includes the 10 of the 13, 2 winners that were making their first appearance. All right, so that makes it 12 out of 13. All right, so you got 10 out of 13 that had a top 11 or better, or top 11, and 2 out of that 13 that were making their first appearance. All right, so in other words, we can kind of like move that first appearance one away, and now we've got 10 of 11. 10 of those 11, 11th or better, okay? Now, what it all means is only one player since 2009 who made more than one appearance did not score a top 11. Just one. All right. So, and that was, who was it? Thomas Detry, the defending champ, who's not here because he signed up to play live. Thomas Detry, the defending champ, was in his second appearance, and he scored a 28th the year before. So what does all of that mean? Well, what it's telling you, if you're going to follow the trends, is out of those last 13, if you want to pick someone that's never played there before and it's a first timer, well, you know how hard that is. But there are a few players that we like this week that fit that. But let's say, oh, I've never taken a player that has never played first appearance. I'm just, statistically speaking, it doesn't work, so I'm not playing it. Okay, that's fine. And if you don't do that, then you want a player that has had a top 11 in his previous, at some point in playing that event. And almost half actually had a runner-up previous result before winning. Not necessarily the year before, but any time. Okay. So I think that's so really, if you follow that trend, and like I said, it was that you eliminate the first appearance player, you would be wanting to cross out any player who didn't have a previous top 28. Okay, just if you want to go with that trend. All right. Also, the average number of appearances before winning is 6 in the last 13. 6. All right, so that's a pretty good average. 6. 5 of them, by the way, in the last 13 were making their 9th appearance or more. Okay, so while you did have a couple of first appearance winners, you also had 5 in the last 13. This is just the last 13 who had 9th or more, 9th, 10th, 11th. So there's a little bit of mixture there, but I think for the most part, it does mean, you do want to favor experience. And again, the major winners, experience, I think that does matter more than just saying, oh yeah, anybody can win any number of appearances. Now, the last winner making his first appearance was Brooks Koepka, interesting enough. This is also interesting because this might be starting a new trend. And if this happens, then I might have to make a completely new trend next year. But 2 of the last 3 first-time winners were on their second and third appearances. So, and that was Detry making it, and Nick Taylor. Was it Nick Taylor? No, I don't think it was Nick Taylor. Who was it? It was Detry, and I forget who it was, but it wasn't. No, wait, was it Nick Taylor? Might have been Nick Taylor, actually. Let me see. Nick Taylor, who's actually not a bad bargain this week. Where was Nick Taylor? How many events did he have? No, it was Nick Taylor. Oh, and Nick was one of those players that in his first appearance had a runner-up and then won. And there's a couple others that has the runner-up and wins at this event. Okay, so now look, like I said, if this year a winner has only 2 or 3 appearances, then that's now we're looking at 3 of the last 4 first-time winners, and that becomes a trend in its own, and the other ones go kaput. But I think for the most part, it's what it's telling you is because those players were long shots. Nick Taylor was a long shot. Detry was a long shot. So, and long shots have been definitely in the mix here. Now, you don't want to be ranked 100th or more. I will say that. That's another trend to throw in there. Let me move over these trends again to that second page. So if you look at it, Only one of the last 18 winners ranked outside the top 100 before winning. And that was Kevin Stadler. He was 127th. The average world ranking of all first-time winners since keeping track of world rankings in professional golf, that was 1986, 68.3. All right, so that's pretty significant. That's telling you that, like a matter of fact, here's the next one that really is gonna. This last one is gonna maybe hit home, and you're gonna go, interesting. Since keeping track of the world rankings in 1986, there's only been one first-time winner of this event who ranked in the top 10. One. That was Mark Calcavecchia, 1989. And what was his ranking? 10th. One. How crazy is that? That is wow. I mean, for the most part, I'm looking here since the 10. And that's the funny thing, isn't it? Calcavecchia. Oh, and here's the other thing. Calcavecchia, when he won this event with that 10th ranking, it was the very first year they started the world golf rankings. And that so not since the first year here has anybody ever won this event ranked in the top 10. And it was 10th. Okay, so the closest we've had some teens. We've had 17, 19, 17 again, 15, 19, 14, 11, and 15. Now, the 14, 11, and 15 have actually been in the last 5 years. So we've had the two long shots and then 15, 11, 14, which is why I said I'm not going to go all in on that little and forget about the totality of the trend just yet. Okay. I need a little bit more proof before we do that. So those are the key trends. And as always, you can nitpick them and say, like I just said, you can go, the last couple of long shots. And if you're that way, then you're just going to probably not even watch the trend part of our show whenever you're watching on demand. You're going to go, I don't care about trends. And there are a lot of people who don't. And I'm okay with that. But a lot of people do. And that is why we do them. Okay. This was real important last week. And remember last week when we told you about how we thought it was really important to go out there and on average, we thought it was a really good idea to take golfers at Farmers Insurance at Torrey when you would go early and late. And that's exactly what worked out for us. Now, what's interesting is that, and we'll talk more about this next year, but because, the North course is easier than the South course, but the North course was a lot easier than the South course this past week. So that was I look at it, what would I rather have my golfer do? Would I rather have my golfer get off to a slow start and need to come from behind or be in the lead? Well, I'd much rather be in the lead. I don't want to have to come from behind. Not to say that you can't, but a lot of other things can happen and take place when you're coming from behind. Of course, last week you deal with the way that the greens get a lot more difficult as the day goes on. So there's that. So there's other reasons. Of course, weather could always be a factor. So on average, I think it's always better to be early, late for the most part. But and it could even be by percentage of 55 to 45. But at other places like Torrey, I think that is even more. And it worked again last week. So I bring that up because that the whole live betting deal at Torrey is definitely in play after the first round, because you see a lot of swings where players, as we've said last week, can come from behind after the first day and do really well in day two. So how is it here? Well, after the first round at Phoenix, 13 of the last 24 started outside the top 10. Okay. So it's about 50% started outside the top 10, which is okay. What's that tell me right off the bat? All right. You get off to a particularly awesome start. You're okay. 9 of the last 24 started 4 shots back or more, including 6, 7, and 10 shots back. So that's pretty significant. So again, 9 of them. So I wouldn't worry too much as long as you don't have a disastrous Thursday. If you are whatever, you're 20th, 30th, 40th, 5, 7 shots back, don't panic. And this is another reason why I think you can now look. It's Monday night. I don't have the tee times. This is the disadvantage of talking about this and giving you actual, hey, these are my definite 5 now, which is another reason why I said just don't be religious on the 5 for me, because I might personally all of a sudden go because of tee times if we do it on a Monday and just change things up myself. And this is why morning tee times are better at Phoenix. Okay. Now that's because of the moisture factor. And so the early rounds, you're going to get the moisture is going to help the greens speed up. Okay. And so how much more difficult it can be when the greens are sped up. All right. So it's kind of pretty similar to last week in that effect, because last week, as this day went on, the greens became more, sort of rigid, and that could be a pain. So because the moisture now you're dealing with here this week, you're dealing with the fact that the greens are going to get faster for the later rounds as well. All right. So what does that say? Well, what this also says is, now look, once again, you're going to be dealing with, everybody's going to have the same issues. Day one issues are going to have the same. So, you're going to have to come out there in the afternoon, whether you do it on Thursday or Friday. I would prefer, let me come out on the morning on Thursday early. And then if I have to deal with the problem on Friday, well, hey, maybe I've got a nice enough cushion. I've had a good enough. And also, you know how important it is for golfers psychologically to get off to a good start. It's not a perfect science. We know that it's golf. Look at, who was it last week? Grayserman, I believe it was. I think he shot a 64 in the first round and a 78 in the second round. Okay. So just because shots, had a really good day on Thursday does not always guarantee that you're going to have a really good day the next day. And so, yes, but on average, confidence definitely, and just kind of feeling, especially, and sometimes it doesn't always go to every golfer. Of course, it might just go to certain golfers need to get confidence going, and so that's something I would definitely throw into the mix. I did not look at. Let me see here if I can find out what the weather might be, because the weather could be a factor sometimes out there. So let me see if, let me pop up the weather. And let's see. Okay. So while I'm going to pop up the weather there, I'm also going to continue. Okay. After round 2, 13 of the last 15 winners at Phoenix started the weekend inside the top 10. All right. So now, while and this all of this is, a lot of times you see that you can come from behind after the first day. Usually by the second day, you want to be inside that top 10, and that's the case here. So don't worry about round 1, but by the time you get to the weekend, you do want to be inside the top 10. All right. So remember that for live betting. It's not perfect, not 100%. It's just 13 out of 15. Now, after the third round, going into Sunday, no winner has ever started the final round, and this is kind of shocking, outside the top 8. I'm a little bit surprised by that. You got some par 5s out there. You can get a little scoring out there. And there could be some pressure out there as well. Yeah. So if you're thinking, hey, I'm in 10th place, what about some live wagering on Sunday morning? Just you're going with 0% success rate. 17 of 39 players, that's 43%, who came into the final round with the lead ended up winning. 43%. Not bad. That includes the last 2 years. Dietrich and Taylor, the two long shots, had the lead going into the final round, and they both won. So it's not so easy going into the final round to beat the leader here. And that's why that top 8 is pretty strong. But 7 of the last 16 winners were at least 3 shots back after the third round, including 8 shots back in 2012, Kyle Stanley. So while, remember, that was only 43%, so 50, so more than half that they weren't leading this event in the final round. And 7 of the last 16, because that was 39. Now I'm going with just 16. 7 of the last 16. So basically just about 50% of the last 16 winners were at least 3 back. Okay. So even though you're not outside the top 8, what this is saying is when you're going into live wagering on Sunday, check out whoever's in the top 8 and who might be 3 shots back or more. And if you'll get good odds. Any player that's 3 shots back or more on Sunday is going to get halfway decent odds. So if you see, like, it's not Scotty Scheffler leading, of course, or a really good player, even Schauffele will throw him in there. So let's say it's a player that has never won this event and is leading, and you don't have any other stars in the top 8. Let's just say you have some good players, but no superstars in the top 8. Take a look at some players that are in the top 8 and out of 3 back or more. Why not? Weather, Phoenix. Let's see what we got for the week. Let's see here. It's popped up for me, and it looks like it's going to be rain. And I'm not seeing anything here at all. I've got sunny, lottie. Let me see if I see anything like rain. I mean, wind. That's important. Let's see. Wind. No wind on Friday. No wind. A little bit windy on Thursday. Okay. A little bit windy on Thursday. No wind pretty much Friday. Saturday, we have no wind at all. It's a perfect day, actually, on Saturday, which is great. That's a big day. And Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, the wind is pretty non-existent and also perfect. Okay, so there you go. A really good weather week in Phoenix for the Phoenix Open. Okay. Let's now move on from trends. Where are we going to now? Now we're going to get to the real deal here. Okay. So this is the main group. Oh, before I do that, stats, just to tell you which stats we went through to put our models together. So the stats that I feel the most important this week, once again, greens in regulation, very important. Tee to green, you throw that in there as well, but greens in regulation, that's what I went with most of all, along with putting. I'm accentuating putting as a big deal this week. So putting, just told you about the way the greens can be. So, and again, we're talking about Bermuda greens, and the unusual thing is most of Bermuda greens are actually seen on the southeast coast of the U.S. This is a rarity. This is we got Bermuda greens over in Phoenix, and another one of the reasons is if you don't have to deal with the speed, if you're not dealing with that later in the day, and that's another thing that you would think, hey, if the greens get more difficult later in the day because they get faster, then shouldn't that mean that there should be some more come from behind players that take advantage of the easier putting on a Sunday? Well, I don't know. I don't really think that's a factor too much because we're talking about, see, Thursday and Friday, those are the big differences. You got a huge field. You start at 6 a.m. local time, and that's early, okay? And then the latest, sometimes what? You go out there at 1, 2 o'clock local time. So now you're talking a 5-hour difference. That's the difference that I think really matters. If you're going out there 3 hours earlier because you're somebody that's 10 strokes back on Saturday or Sunday, you're just it's too much. We're not talking about that kind of dramatic effect. Okay. So here's the main group. But and also besides putting being important, and the other reason putting is real important here, maybe most of all, the greens are pretty straightforward. Okay, so besides the fact that they might get speedier as the day goes on, the fact is that they're not very difficult. Okay, so if you're a pretty good putter, you should be able to take advantage of it. Now, I could also say, well, if you're struggling a little bit with the putter, then maybe like a Siwoo Kim, who really always struggles, maybe this would be a good week for his putting to kind of pick up because it's not so difficult. You could look at it that way. And then par 4 and par 5 scoring is also very important this week because driving is going to be very important this week. Okay, you want to go with the longer drivers this week. The fairways are not that big a deal, meaning if you're a long driver and you're a little bit, most of them are a little bit inaccurate, your penalties are not that big a deal. Because the fairways are pretty open, and when you come off the fairway, there isn't a lot of difficulty. Now, I'm not saying it's not perfect in that respect. There are holes. You got water on some holes, and you got other things that are impeding your way if you are unlucky if you hit the ball outside the fairway. So it's not an easy. We're not talking about Amex here. We're not talking about the Nicholas course or La Quinta. Okay, we're not talking about that kind of crap. But for the most part, it's for a really good course and like an average good course. The fairways are pretty good for the long hitters. So I'm not because I think what did we talk about last week? I believe where you want that combination. It's really important if you could drive, really well and not worry too much about. As far as your accuracy, because you're talking about Torrey Pines, you're talking about, even though there's rough there, the rough isn't like completely, a deterrent. But if you can drive the ball long and you have a fairly good accurate rate, which is very rare, but there were players we talked about last week that you could look at. Matter of fact, and this just shows you again, the stats are not perfect. I think it was Aldrich Potgieter was like the best combination of driving far and accuracy. And I don't think he made okay. So these are not perfect, but again, this is all averages. So for the most part, don't worry too much about whether or not you have accuracy to go along with your driving power. So long hitters favor. Also, if you are a short driver, it's not the end of the world. It favors the longer drivers, but if you are a shorter driver, make sure that you have the ability to hit the ball long with your irons, the long irons. Okay, so take a look at, like, let's say that you like a player that is considered the 135th player in driving distance, but you like him. Well, make sure that player is having a good year or is more than, his career-wise, he just happens to be very good with the long iron game. So check those stats out as well and make sure that he's doing well there. Because if he's not, and there are a few players that we'll get into here in a little bit that I like this week. And then I looked and I saw, well, they don't drive the ball very long. and they're not doing too well with the long irons. So, not good. So that combination, I think, is the worst combination. Once again, it's not going to rule out a player, but might not, let's try to push that player down my list. So anyway, those are the stats. Let's get started with these players now. And here you see the main group. Okay. Like we talked about with Scheffler, what are you going to do, right? 2-1. There's nothing else to say, right? Let's talk about a couple others here. Schauffele and Matsuyama. Now, I'm not taking them as far as my picks, but these two players, you would think. Now, Matsuyama's already won here a couple times, but Schauffele should win here probably multiple times when it's all said and done. So Schauffele is not a bad pick at all. If you look at Schauffele, in 6 appearances, he's been in the top 20 all 6 times. Top 20 all 6 times. 4 of those are top 10s, 2 top 5s, and a runner-up. Very strong. His overall scoring here is 74 under par, and he has been 10 under par or better in all 6. Okay? You can't really do better than that. Now, he did not play here the last 2 years, so you might want to take that into consideration. All right? He, hasn't been here for the last couple of years. And he's coming off a miscut last week when most people thought, he was going to be, based on his good result at Torrey Pines, a factor. He was never a factor. And it probably didn't help him that he started in the afternoon on Thursday and also had to deal with what else did they have to deal with there last week? Anyway, the fact is that was not, if you were in the afternoon last week on Thursday, you were in big trouble. So, but still, he just never got into it. And I don't think it's an excuse, but he was behind the 8 ball last week. Okay. So anyway, there you go. And this is the thing that really matters more. And the reason why I'm not taking him is because, remember, I was really looking for Xander to show me something, because he had just come off the win, in his previous event. It was a couple months prior, but it was his first win since the 2024 Open Championship. So he broke that drought. Okay, well, what does that mean? Does that mean that floodgates are going to open up now and Xander Schauffele is going to go on a run? He missed the cut. That kind of concerns me just a little bit. Now he can completely come out there this week. And like I said, it was just luck. Maybe if he started on the South course last week, he would have been in a much better situation, or the North course last week, he would have been in a much better situation. But, and hey, if you want to take Xander and that's the excuse you want to give, more power to you. But the thing I'm a little bit concerned with was that just a win? Because that was not like a big field, or it was a fall event. So what do we take out of that? I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned with that. And also with 20-1. Okay, this is the second choice. Okay. Matsuyama continues to be in a nice position. We took him as one of our picks last week. That's his 17th straight cut. 7 of those are top 20s, 2 top 5s, and a win, which just happened not too long ago with the Hero. Very solid 11th last week. Okay, so he was solid. And he actually started the first 2 days with Justin Rose. Here, he's made 11 of 12 cuts. 10 of those are top 30s. 4 top 5s, a runner-up, and 2 wins. Now, here's the problem. In his first 4 appearances here, 4th, 2nd, 1st, and 1st. That's tremendous. In his last 8 appearances here, 1 top 10. That's it. Now, his scoring's been fine. It's not like he's been a 1 top 10 with 4 missed cuts or a 50 and a 40. And no, he's got good scores. It's just only 1 top 10. So, but again, a couple other problems. Okay. The putting, little off. That's been his issue generally. And he's been a little off on the Bermuda. Okay. But the stats are not good. The greens in regulation, the power game is not there. So there are some little tiny issues there, but also the last 8 appearances, that's the biggest one, and he's a low number at 25. So good, a lot to like about both of them. You like them, take them. I'm not going to argue with you. You got a lot of good stuff to back you with those 2 guys, but I'm just going to pass. Now let me stay with the passes. So I'm going to pass on Ben Griffin. He was 8 under par in 2024, 7 under par in 2025, a couple of, he had a 28th and a 36th. So, hey, he's got 28th. It's the 28th. So that's good, but he's kind of going in the wrong direction trend-wise on in his most recent results. And I don't know. I kind of just wonder whether or not he's is he on the verge of kind of cooling off a little bit. I'm just a little bit concerned with that. That's all. Plus, he hasn't had any sort of success that you normally get. But again, he kind of tracks with what we've seen, or at least what we saw last year with Thomas Dietrich. But again, I'm just going to pass. Okay. And then you have Siwoo Kim. I'm also going to pass on Siwoo. Look, this has not been a good golf course for him. 1 top 15 in his career, just 1. And that was a top 15. That was a 12th place finish a couple of years ago. That's it. That's all he's got to show for it. He does have 4 straight top 30s, so that's solid. A combined 36 under par. That's okay. But we know he not only has he been putting poorly, but he's really bad on Bermuda. So that's troubling, to say the least. But you're talking about a player that's got 10 straight 10 straight top 25s. With 5 top 10s, 4 top 5s, a runner-up last week on yesterday. He went from 70th in the world to 30th in the world during those 10 events. That's how hot Siwoo is. Matter of fact, the last 5 results, 2nd, 6th, 11th, 3rd, and 4th. I look, another thing is, I don't know. I don't know whether or not this is the venue for Siwoo. Siwoo seems like somebody that does maybe get a little uncomfortable in these types of environments. I might be reading it wrong, but it just seems to be that case. Now, the good thing is he's got a player's win, and he's red hot, and you're getting 30-1. And maybe, even though the putting is off, maybe he will get hot this week because the greens are not that difficult. So, not a bad idea. I would rather take Siwoo over Ben Griffin. Matter of fact, on this list, I would take Siwoo. What is he, 25? Would I take him? Yeah, you know what? I might actually take him before I took Schauffele and Matsuyama. Because if I'm going to, again, Scheffler, I'm not even going to talk about here. So if I'm going with the rankings, and I'm going to get into the 2 players who I'm taking, it would be Young, Burns, Kim. And then I would go, what would I do? I'd go Schauffele Matsuyama. I'd give Schauffele an opportunity because he's just been awesome here. But Siwoo's just red hot, and I'm just, he's been better than Schauffele has. Schauffele's got the win, but Siwoo's been just red hot. Okay. Now, the players that I'm going to side with on this list, I just said they're Cameron Young and Sam Burns. So what I like about Young, he in his last 2 appearances, he has 3 top 30s, by the way, in 4 appearances here, which is really good. But 12th last year, 8th in 2024, 13 under par in both. So he's just off a little bit from winning. And what I like about this is that if you look at it, the 2 years that he did really well here, when you looked at his game, nothing was really happening. He wasn't in some sort of run. He wasn't playing great, good. He was just and he played well here. So now he's coming in here playing the best he's played, and maybe in his career. He ended last year with 8 top 15s in his last 11, with 5 top 5s and a win. And then he gets a 22nd last week, which is a really good 22nd. And the one, now look, at Bay Hill, he's had good results as well. He's had a couple of top 15s there. And the one thing that's been his issue, the biggest one, is the putter. All right. So we all know that. That's the thing that holds him back. But I like the fact that, like, if I'm saying, well, Young's having putter issues before, and so is Siwoo, why wouldn't I just go with Siwoo? Well, because Cameron has had better results here. And it looks like this is a good venue for Cameron with his game, his power game. Okay. So I just think that, and he has never played this event playing this well before. I think that's a good combination. Sam Burns, meanwhile, he's just been okay here. 3 top 25s in 7 appearances, 2 top 10s, 1 top 5. Nothing tremendous, nothing bad, just okay. But what's important are a few things. One, the putting has been solid. That's really good. The driving, solid. You look at the way that he's played on these types of courses. He's got a top 10 at Bay Hill. He's got 2 top 5s and a runner-up at the CJ Cup. And he also was 9th in the 2024 US Open. These are good courses for him. And he's on a run of 18 straight cuts. 11 top 20s, 5 top 10s, 3 top 5s, and a runner-up. He was 27th at Amex. That was the last time we saw him a few weeks ago. So his last 5 events, 27th, 11th, 13th, 7th, and 4th. So he's playing really well. And if you look at it, in his last 3 years at this course are his best 3 years. Even though he was 49th last year, the 2 previous years, 3rd and 6th, those are his 2 top 10s and his 1 top 5. They've come in the last 3 years. He has a combined 34 under par in those last 3 years. So that's why I think the timing is really good for both Cameron Young and Sam Burns playing this week in Phoenix. Okay. Let's go with the top contenders. And here they are. And there's some really good ones this week. A lot of good ones. It's going to be really tough to pick some winners this week. Okay. So let me just throw some out there. Victor Hovland. He's played here 3 times. He's only made the cut once. His total his total scoring here is even par. So I don't like that at all. We told you in the beginning it's important to have some sort of success here. He doesn't have much of it at all. Just one cut made. It's also his first PGA Tour event since the Tour Championship last year. And he's been over in Europe. And he's had some good results over there. He's had 4 top 25s in 4 events. And he's also had a couple top 10s and 1 top 5. He also won the BMW Championship in 2023 and was second at the 2022 Arnold Palmer. So he has had success on some of these courses. But because he hasn't had success here, that trumps it. It's what another thing I have to keep reminding myself and the viewers is, when you're using these tools, remember, especially if you're using similar courses, what's more important, the similar courses or the course you're on? The course you're on, of course. So, yeah. But we'll see. I mean, at least the last time he played here, he did make the cut. All right. So I would expect Victor Hovland to have his best result this week. I would expect it. But there's way too many other players to choose from, including Maverick McNeely. I think McNeely's an excellent choice this week. He withdrew from the very first appearance he made here 3 years ago. The other two, the last 2 years, 6th and 9th. Excellent. 14 under par in both years. He's on a run of 5 top 25s in his last 6, 2 top 10s, 1 top 5. He was 10th last week. So he's trending in the right direction. He also is trending well with the putter on Bermuda. He's driving the ball really well and long, more importantly. And not only is he driving the ball well, but he's hitting the long irons really well too. He's doing also pretty decent on the par 5s to help with the scoring. There's a lot to like there. The stats are really good. The trending is good. The results here are good. 35-1 is solid. I like Maverick McNeely. Brooks Koepka. I knew I don't always look to find out what everybody else is picking, take a look at the big golf sites, see where they're going. But I do think it's a good tool to have. And the reason why I do think it is because if you notice, too many of the experts picking the same players, that's a bad sign. That's a bad sign. I've said that many times before, and I've said it many times before because it's true. If you go through the same players or the same teams you're betting, whatever, for the most part, that's a bad sign. That means that it's not too easy, but it's like there's too much going on. Sort of like Jason Day last week. What did I say about Jason Day last week? I said it on the one and dones that I warned about the one and dones with Jason Day, that the thing you want to avoid is if a player's hot coming in like Jason Day was, and you think a lot of people are going to take them, the best thing to do on one and done is avoid the players that a lot of people will take in your one and done contests. Because for the most part, again, you're going to lose. This is the way it is. And look what Jason Day did last week. He exactly what was almost predictable. And so that's why it's another thing to keep in mind when you're doing the one and dones is stay away from the players that are the hot players that you think, because if you stay away from them and they don't put in a good result, then, hey, I'm ahead of the game there and those, I'm in good shape. Okay. Brooks is, I think, one of those players this week. I think a lot of people are going to take Brooks Koepka this week. I'm not going to take him this week because I would rather say Brooks for a bigger event. And look, not everybody's not going to take him, but I think that's what's going to happen. I think there will be a lot of people who feel the same way I will, but there still will be a lot of people who will take him. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I've already seen, as you mentioned, with taking a look at who the experts have been picking, and I've already seen Brooks Koepka. It's just too easy of a pick because of him just coming back on tour. He made the cut last week, which is a good thing. Remember, he has not played well at Torrey Pines. So the fact that he made the cut last week after getting off to a slow start, he had the bad course deal. He started out on the South. And was way behind, but he made his way back, made the cut, and that was important for him. So now he goes to a golf course that he has been awesome. He's played here 5 times. He has 2 wins and a 3rd place finish. Okay, and remember, he won on his first appearance. 57 under par combined score here. That's amazing. Okay. So look, I think it would be a great story. I mean, who wouldn't want to see Brooks Koepka and Scottie Scheffler battle it out on Sunday? Really? That would be a super Sunday. And at 35-1, I will definitely bet Brooks Koepka. I'll throw a few bucks on him. Why not? But I'm going to stay away from him as a top pick because I just think it's almost too easy. So are we really going to get what we want there? Brooks Koepka winning, just got back in the PGA Tour on Super Bowl Sunday. Okay. I am looking at Ricky Fowler, though. Now, the one thing I don't like about Ricky is the 45-1 number. Okay. That's the thing that bothers me the most. And there's several players here that are the same thing for me. Jordan Spieth, Sahith Theegala, maybe even Jake Knapp. Those, you're getting no value at all. You're getting ripped off with those odds. Those players should not be that low. Not in this field. It's a good field. There's a lot of good talent out there. And I that's the thing that disappoints me the most. But there's still a few of those players that I'm going to put some money on because the odds are good. And Ricky, I do like more than some of the others just because of the fact that he's playing well too. And this is the thing with Ricky. He's in 17 appearances here, 7 top 15s. Okay, so that's really strong. But he also has 5 missed cuts. Now he's won here once in 2019, and he's been a runner-up twice. So this has been one of his best, if not his best golf course that he's played on in his career. Now, in his last 5 years, though, because he really played well much earlier in his career here, but later in his career, not so well. In his last 5 years, just his last 5, this is the worst 5-year period here. He missed the cut 3 times, withdrew once, and that was last year, and had a 10th place finish. But when you look at those 5 years, his worst 5 years here, okay, the 1 year that he had the 10th place finish was the 1 year that he was playing well. The other, I'm not talking about the WD, the other 3 missed cuts, he wasn't playing well. He wasn't playing well before that and after that. So his game was off and he didn't play well here. When his game was on, like it was when he was 10th 4 years ago, he had a good result. And Ricky's game is on. He's coming off an 18th at the Amex. That's his first event since August. So he needed to get something going, cobwebs and all that, got that out. In his last 3 on tour, 18th, 7th, and 6th. So Ricky's starting to slowly maybe get his game going, which would be great. And I said before a couple weeks ago that I do believe Ricky will find a way to win this year. The other thing, the putting's okay. That shouldn't be an issue for him. But the greens in regulation are strong. The driving is definitely strong. And he's been really good on the par 4s. So I think this is one of those times that Ricky would be a good play this week. I just don't like the 45-1. Moving on. Harris English, not much to say there, except on the good side, he's made 20 straight cuts. On the bad side, he's only had 1 top 10 in his last 8. He's 22nd at Farmers and 27th at Amex. That's about it. What Harris really has done is, he does that, and then he'll just come out of nowhere in one event and go out there and battle for a win. You just don't know when that's going to be. So that's the problem with Harris. Here's a couple of bad notes, though. Really struggling lately on Bermuda. All right. And he has a bad combination of, he's not taking advantage of the par 5s, and his long iron game is not on as well. So issues that really tends you to think that this just would not be the week that he would come out there and get a win on this golf course. Next up, how about Matthew Fitzpatrick? I think Matthew Fitzpatrick is a nice sneaky value play. Again, why is Matthew Fitzpatrick the 24th ranked player in the world at 47-1? Look at all these other rankings on some of these players like Spieth, Theegala, Fowler, and that. They're that ranking not because of injuries or Theegala. Yes, I'm going to get to him in a second. But for the most part, they're just, they've struggled and now they're starting to play better. But Fitzpatrick, he's been playing better for a much longer period of time. He's a major winner. That's important. And this will be his 5th appearance here. He's missed just one cut. That was last year. Okay. And if you look at it though, when he came in here and he missed a cut, he was not playing well. So it should not have been a surprise that he did not also play well here. But he's playing well now. He is on a run of 9 top 10s in his last 16 worldwide with 5 top 5s and a win. He's moved his rankings from 85th to 24th, the way it is right now. And even though he had a poor 63rd at the Amex, it was his first ever appearance there. It was also his first PGA appearance this year, so he was getting his feet wet. And he had all rounds in the 60s until the final day when he had a 74. He was only 6 shots back for the lead going into the final round. But he had a bad day on Sunday, and I don't know what happened on Sunday. Maybe he was 6 shots back and felt, hey, I got to go for it. And, that has been something that has not worked out for him lately, is the par 5s. He hasn't been able to take advantage of that. But the par 4s, he's been solid. The driving is okay. The greens in regulation are strong. And the putting is trending in the right direction on Bermuda. And he's got before the miscut, he has 3 top 30s, including a 10th and a 15th. So I think he's a nice under-the-radar play here for a major winner that has played really good golf for the last several months, and you're getting nearly 50 to 1. So I like Fitzpatrick this week. Goddard is another one, but he's never made the cut here. He's 0 for 2. That's a problem. But he's on 13 straight cuts. 10 of those are top 30s, 5 top 10s, 3 top 5s, and 2 wins. He moved from 192nd in the world to 16th in the world. Chris Goddard. But again, he's never made the cut here into appearances. Moving on this list, who else do we have? How about Jake Knapp, 76th in the world? He's played here twice, 44th, and there's that number again, 28th. So who knows, right? Ben Griffin, Jake Knapp, 28th. Interesting. But, okay, solid results, but nothing great. He's trending in the right direction. 5th last week at Farmers. Remember, we talked about him being one of the one players that were not. He wasn't on the board, but that was the one player that I would have put on the board. Okay, taking a look at his stats. The putting has been solid. The driver has been okay. It's been solid. And he's been really strong on the par 5s. Very strong on the par 5s. So that's good. The bad part has been the greens in regulation. That's been a little bit off. But for the most part, I think Jake Knapp, again, is a solid player. I just don't know why he's 45 to 1. Okay, I think you should be getting better numbers with other players, and Knapp should be more like 55 or 60 to 1. Again, we're talking, he's the 76th ranked player of the world for a reason. I mean, there's no value there in my mind. Now, Jordan Spieth is another one, 45 to 1 for a player whose game has just been completely off for years now. We hope that he's starting to get out of it, because if you look overall, he was 24th at Sony. That was his 8th straight cut he made. He had a WD in there, but that's basically 8 straight cuts whenever he hasn't withdrawn. But during that stretch with 8 straight cuts made, he went from 51st in the world to 79th. So while he's making cuts, which is good, he's just not doing – the numbers aren't strong enough. And the putting is the biggest problem. Okay, the putting has really let him down. The greens in regulation are poor as well. But this is a horse for your course pick. In his last 5 years, 4th, 6th, 6th, and 4th. So in his 5 years, 4 of those are top 10s. Minus 41 under par the last 3 years here. He's done everything you would want except win. Okay, so he's really good here. But he's 83rd in the world for a reason. And I mean, 45 to 1, I was really seriously thinking of taking Jordan Spieth, because I figured, okay, he's going to be 60, 70 to 1. And I think he's going to be a good long shot play. 45 to 1. Come on. I mean, there's no value there. Who else? Let's go with Sahith Theegala. Another one who shouldn't be 45-1, but if I'm going to be forgiving with that number, the two players I'll be the most forgiving will be Ricky and Sahith. Because Sahith is finally healthy, and that's the reason why I think you can forgive some of his stats. Okay, so when you're looking at stats like the putting has been atrocious, the greens in regulation have been bad, there's a lot to not like. But that's because for a while, his game was terrible as he was not healthy. He's talking about how healthy he is now. That's the reason we're seeing the better results. So he's trending in the right direction with back-to-back top 10s. 8th at Amex, 7th last week. He also has 2 top 5s and 4 appearances, made all 4 cuts here. 3rd and 5th. In those 2, he was a combined 32 under par. He has good results at Bay Hill. He had a good result at BMW in 2023, so that's good. So, yes, there's a lot to like about Sahith this week. But, I mean, come on, 45-1. Yeah, I'll put money on him. But, give me a break. Okay, now we go to our long shots. Here we go. And look at my boy, Pierce Hassan Coody. You know, I actually saw one of the writers put Coody in their I don't think it was a top pick, but one of their picks, which good. He deserves it. So as we said in the beginning of the year, Pierce Hassan Coody was one of our players to keep an eye on, a breakout player, as you know, and so far so good. He's gotten out of the gates really strong. He has now made 11 straight cuts with 6 top 20s, 2 top 5s, and the runner-up last week. His previous 2 appearances at Torrey, keep in mind he had missed the cut. So to go from miscut to second shows you that his game is on. So that's great. Problem is, 55-1 is okay. I'm all right with it. I still think I should be getting 70, but 55-1 is okay. But he hasn't played here before. Remember I said at the Open when we were going over that, we're going to go back to those first appearances or a couple players that we're going to target. So this is one of them. Be the one to target who has never played here before. That if you want to go with another first appearance winner, I think, look, you know me, and I've said this before. If you have certain players you like and they're going well, and you just keep picking them. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just keep riding. I have taken Pierce Hassan now, I believe, probably the amount of the cuts he's made, something like this. I might have taken 8 straight events, something like that. So I'm going to keep taking him, and especially at these numbers at 55-1. But to put him as a top play, never played here before, with all the other players that you can choose from here, I just think it's going a little bit off radar. So that's why I'm going to go against it. But he's been really trending in the right direction on Bermuda, and the other stats have been really solid. I mean, he's solid on just about every stat we talked about that is important here. So I think Coody is again, first appearance type winner. He's as good as I think you're going to find. Also here, just the ones that stick out. Okay, Daniel Berger. So I like Daniel Berger this week. The one thing that I am completely against, though, which is why I can't take him as a top play, is the putting. That's what's holding him back. So sort of like Siwoo, I'm going to hope that maybe the greens will be a good week for him. But maybe better than Siwoo is with Siwoo at 25-1. I get 70-1 with Daniel Berger. Now you're getting 70-1 for a good reason, though. Siwoo is red hot. Daniel Berger is not. But at least he had a 6th at Sony a few weeks ago. And now remember, you also are dealing with someone that was coming off a finger injury. And that happened late last year. Okay, so he just started to get going again in the last several events. And so I'm going to look at that. And I'm going to go, okay, so considering one was a top 10, I think that's good. So I'm happy with that. Also, he's statistically speaking a top 10 player here statistically at this course combined to all the other players in this field. That's because over 10 events, 6 of those are top 30s, 4 top 10s, and this is one of those players that had the runner-up last year. So Daniel Berger was 17 under par last year here. The greens in regulation are strong. He's really good on the par 5s. So I think he's a nice under-the-radar long shot. Daniel Berger at 70-1. Another long shot I like this week is Min-Woo Lee at 72-1. And I think this is a really good setup for Min-Woo. Now, he's only played here 2 times, so that's the one thing that is the hiccup, or that's the one thing that it bothers me a little bit. He went from 71st to 12th last year. Even in 2024, even there was a score, 13 under par last year. So 13 stroke advantage or improvement from year 1 to year 2 here. That's what you want to see. The putting has been fantastic. So if anybody can take advantage of the greens and help them to wind up in a good spot because he's, 5 shots better than whoever else on the field, that's what you want with Min-Woo Lee based on the stats coming in. The stats are also very good in greens and regulation. He's got as good a power game as anyone else out there right now. So this should be a perfect tailor-made golf course for him. And the par 4s and par 5s are fine. He can take advantage of that as well. He was also 21st at the U.S. Open in 2024. So there's a lot to like about Min-Woo Lee. And also, based on the way that he carries himself, I think he eats this atmosphere up. So I think it is a perfect venue for Min-Woo Lee. I think he's going to soak it all in, and I think he's going to have a lot of fun this week, or at least I hope so. Okay. Nick Taylor also. I think this is a nice value here. You're getting 65-1 on a player that's played here 3 times. He has a combined 47 on the par. He's been 2nd, 1st, and 25th, and you're getting 65-1. I just told you about those 45-1 shots, and I'm getting 65-1 with Nick Taylor. Come on. So yeah. And see, now I remember. Okay. Remember before I was saying, who was the other player that I was looking at with those third 3 appearances, I think it was, or one. I think it was the one appearance before they had played here, that trend. And I said, Dietrich has it. And I said, I guess Nick Taylor has it. Well, Nick Taylor doesn't have it. I was only looking at Nick Taylor's last 3 years here. So Nick Taylor has played here a lot. In his first 8 appearances, he had 4 missed cuts and a best of 49th. Okay. It's his last 3 appearances that he's all of a sudden gotten better. So that's when you've got the 25th, the 1st, and the 2nd. So, but again, I don't care about it. That has nothing to do at all with why I would like him. I've seen that happen all the time. It means nothing to me. So the fact that matter of fact, all that other experience here is just good, even if it's bad. So yeah, it means nothing to me. Just the fact that he's dialed it in the last 3 years, that's all that should matter to you. The putting has gotten better at Bermuda, so he's coming in, and we know how clutch he can be with the putter. And remember, this was one of his wins, one of his 3 West Coast wins. He is a player that has thrived on the West Coast, and he's coming in 13th at the Sony and 27th at Amex. So his game is definitely on. All right, who else do we have here that we want to mention? Because we got to start moving along here. Let's see. Yeah, there's a few others I want to get to. McCarty. Now, McCarty is at 65-1. Now, I'm not going to pick him because he missed the cut last year at 3 over par, so he has no prior positive experience here. But if you look at it, he was 18th last week. That's his 9th straight cut, 5 top 15s, 2 top 5s, and a runner-up at the Amex. Throw in the 18th last week. So his game is on, and I think he will probably be he'll make the cut this time around. But to win, I think that's asking a little too much. Let's see. Who else should we want to throw in? Hao Tung Lee. I know he's not on this list, but Hao Tung Lee, because he's never played here before. And that's why I'm not going to go with him. But he continues to play well. We keep pumping up Hao Tung. He's now made 8 straight cuts with 3 top 10s. In his last 5 appearances, he was 11th last week, 8th at the Amex, 55th at the Sony, and then the 2 prior that ended his year over in the DP World Tour, he was 10th and 8th. So Hao Tung Lee is playing some of his best golf of his career. Good for him. I do want to talk about Christian. Let me make sure I get this right. Bezuidenhout. Christian Bezuidenhout. Christian is a player that I've mentioned before on previous broadcasts that I actually hit with him back-to-back events over on the DP World Tour about 4 or 5 years ago. So I have a nice little history with Christian Bezuidenhout. And but this is a really good venue, has been for him. He has moved from a miscut at 7 over par to 28th at 8 under par to 4th at 16 under par. So he keeps getting better here. There's a problem. He's not a power hitter. And recently, he has not played well with the long iron game as well. So that's where I'm wondering, maybe this is going to be the week. But horse for course, maybe that will eliminate all that kind of stuff. It's possible because the putting is strong, the green and regulation is strong. So there are good things to like about Bezuidenhout coming in here. He also has 4 top 20s at Bay Hill, a 12th at the CJ Cup, and he had a top 35 at the US Open. So it should be, this is his setup. This is what Bezuidenhout really likes. And he's got 12 straight cuts coming in with 4 top 10s, and he was 27th last week. So Christian Bezuidenhout could be a really nice long shot play at 85 to 1. I'm going to give you another good long shot play, Michael Kim. Now, I am concerned with his back injury because he had to withdraw from the event last week, but he says, he's better, and that's the reason he withdrew. It's a big week this week, even though it was big last week because it was a local thing for him. And he had come in from the miscut at Amex, but he says he's okay, but still, that's the only reason I can't invest in him. But how do you know he's not going to be okay? Because if he is now, if you're talking about, remember we went over this with Ludwig Oberg last week. He had the illness, and then he can't play that week. He comes into Amex. He comes in last week to Farmers, and he has to, and he comes off the illness because he had to withdraw. And if you would figure, okay, he's going to play this week, but I mean, he's coming off an illness. He was still like the 3rd choice. So look, if you've got someone like at 18 to 1 that's coming off an illness or has got some injury stuff he's coming over, I've said this and I'll keep saying it. 100% of the time, I never touch those players. And I don't ever recall getting snake bitten by one of them, ever. And now it's different when you're talking about, now I'm talking about players like Ludwig with the numbers like Ludwig. But when you've got a player like Michael Kim at 110 to 1, now that's different because I don't worry about the injury or this or that because I'm getting 110 to 1. He's a long shot. So I'm willing to, if you're giving, maybe I'm getting that number because of the injury. So, hey, good, give it to me. So I'm going to go ahead and put a few bucks on him. But yeah, I can't make him like a top pick because of the injury. But there's a lot to like about him. Runner is another one of these players that was runner-up last year, 17 under par. And so you wonder whether or not, there's some good memories. It should be because this was a player that went into this event last year at 162nd in the world. He hadn't won on the PGA professionally since I think 2018 or something like that. And he's kind of mired 162nd, trying to get his game going again after the injuries and the things. And bad game and bad. So he was just in a good place. A lot of people, what happened to Michael Kim? So Michael Kim was trying to get back into the game. And all of a sudden, boom. This is when he took off this week last year with the runner-up. So he would go on a stretch from 162nd in the world all the way to 43rd in the world. That's where he is right now. And in a 5-week stretch, he would go 2nd, 13th, 13th, 6th, and 4th. And where was the 4th? Bay Hill. So he broke his losing streak, won in France in September. So that was big for him. His first win, as I said, since 2018. The putting on Bermuda has been getting better, and it's pretty good right now. The bad part is the combination. It doesn't have the power game, and the long iron game is not working for him. So that's also a concern, but you're getting 110 to 1. All right. So not bad for a long shot in my mind. Anyone else here I want to talk about before we move over? I don't think so. No. Let's just move on. John Kiefer, you know how I feel about him. I think he's got the potential to be a really good player. He's made all of his cuts this year so far. So yeah, Kiefer is someone that maybe in the coming weeks, who knows? But real soon he's going to be on top of the leaderboard or on the first page of the leaderboard, and we're going to start hearing more about him. Now, let's wrap it up with the picks. Here are my 5. Okay. So I'm going to go Young, Burns, first and second. I'm going to go McNeely, Fitzpatrick, and Minwoo. And as far as this group is concerned, really, I think that I'm getting fair odds with Young, with Burns, and with McNeely. I also think I'm getting big value with Fitzpatrick, and I'm getting great odds with Minwoo. That's honestly, I think Minwoo, if Minwoo was 45 to 1, I wouldn't have been surprised. It was one of those 45 to 1 shots. So I'm getting over 70 to 1. I'll take it. Other players that nearly, if I'm going through this quickly, who just didn't make it, Siwoo would definitely be one of them. Brooks, Ricky, let's see, Cootie, of course, Berger, Jordan, Sahith. Oh, I forgot to talk about Kurt Kitayama. That's another one. Yeah, he just missed it. But Kurt, the problem with Kurt is he's not a powerful hitter, and the putting is not good. That's a bad combo at this golf course. But he won the Arnold Palmer in 2023. So that's really what stuck out to me. He also had a solid showing at the CJ Cup last year. And when he won the Arnold Palmer, he missed a cut the week before, which is what happened to him at Amex the last time he's played. So I wouldn't worry about that. I'm more concerned with the bad putter and the power game, not where you want it to be in this event. I'd keep an eye on the Højgaard brothers, but they haven't had a lot of experience here. And again, Bezuidenhout, that's another one. Michael Kim, that's another one. And I think that's it. I didn't mention, I yet to mention Marco Penge yet. But this is a really good young player to keep an eye on from over in England. Had a big year breakout last year. Now he's had 6 pro wins. He had the 2 last year on the DP World Tour. So he's really started to make a name for himself. He went from 416th in the world in 2024 to 29th in the world last year. So you're going to start hearing a lot more from Marco Penge, and that's a player that also you want to be keeping an eye on. So yeah, so there you go. That is going to do it for our show. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had as much information as you need to in order to make your picks. We are going to come back again in the next 2 weeks. Well, we'll be here the whole time, of course, but we're going to be back the next 2 weeks talking signature event golf. The best players in the world are all going to get together. Now, there will be an event or two during the season where every player gets the opportunity to bypass one of these signature events. But for the most part, you're going to see all the best players in the world. I'm guessing we're going to see Rory. I'm sure it's time for Rory to make his appearance, even though I remember mentioning this a couple of years ago. No, it might have been last year. Yeah, it was last year that Rory typically gets off to slow starts. And it was interesting because he won the event earlier last year. I forget which one it was. He won an event early enough last year where it was the first time he had won that early. I don't know, like 10, 15 years or something like that. And coincidentally or not, I think not. I think it was that he went on to win the Masters. And that's the reason I picked him in the Masters. That was one of the reasons I picked him, because he did something he wasn't used to doing, and that's get off to a really good start. So we're going to hopefully see Rory here soon, and I'm sure we're going to see everybody else. Again, no Justin. I think we're going to see Justin in Florida. That's what we're hearing, that we'll see him in the Florida swing. But other than that, all the big boys should be back in the next couple of weeks. Looking forward to it. Thanks for tuning in. And if you have any questions regarding any players at all, let me know, and I'll give you my reaction. And also anybody that I did not talk about, if you want any additional information or stats right off the bat that I can help you with, just let me know. Get the comments started. All that stuff is really important to help us grow something here so we can have a nice little golf community, not forgotten with all the football talk and everything else we do here. Including NASCAR. We'll be talking NASCAR tomorrow. I think that's back to our 4:00 schedule. So don't forget that every Tuesday, 4:00, CJ Radoon from RotoWire joins me. We will preview the Daytona 500 tomorrow at 4:00. It's not going to be for 2 weeks, but we're doing that so we can get a head start on the 500 coverage. And then we're going to preview the NASCAR season in totality the week after. So we'll have two big shows before the Daytona 500, which will be a week from Super Bowl Sunday. So NASCAR returns to a regular schedule here at Proline TV. And we'll be back talking that tomorrow. That's our next show. And then the rest of the week is going to be jam-packed with football, college basketball, and horse racing. I think, and that's it. Maybe. Thanks for tuning in once again. We'll see you guys next week. Good luck, everybody.